Today, I have the utmost pleasure of interviewing Thomas Foushee with Ampro Industrial Batteries and Chargers. So let's start with the top 3 things you have done that made you successful in business.
So first, I've been in business now for almost 14 years, actually a little over, actually 10 years. I started the company in 2010. And my background has been more related to service. As I tell my business coach, I'm not a businessman, and he continues to tell me that I'm not a businessman yet. But I would say that starting my company, one of the first things that I felt was very important to our success was partnering with suppliers that really shared my vision for where I wanted to take the company. And being in the service field, they had to have a good product and great technical support. So I think that's key. Growing up with parents who've owned companies and friends that have started companies over the years, and I've seen some succeed, I've seen some fail. And one of the things that I've seen with the failures are the ones that generally don't separate their personal bank accounts from business bank accounts. So I thought it was imperative for me to make sure I set up the business correctly. I hired a great CPA who helped me accomplish that. And to this day, I don't treat my business account like it's my personal piggy bank. So we've been very conservative, and we've been able to use profits to continue to grow the business. So again, I think that's very important to separate the two. And I would say probably the most important part of my success has been my wife. At the end of the day, when I decided I was a branch manager the last 13 years prior to me starting my own company. So, we made a very good income together, and had bought a brand new house. And so it was important for her to be on board with me starting my company, because if you don't have that support from your wife, then you can't succeed. So I think that's probably the most important thing I can say I did, was making sure she was on board with that decision.
What made you specifically get into business, and why this particular business?
I was born in Washington, D.C., and grew up between Gaithersburg, Silver Spring, Rockville, Maryland. Moved around a lot as a kid growing up. My mother and my stepfather at the time had a roofing company. So every summer when I was in 8th grade, I spent my summers doing roofing and cleaning up shingle trash and, hauling shingles up, 1-2 stories. So, when I was getting ready to graduate, my dad had a small battery business in North Carolina, and he asked me what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. And I said, well, I'm not really sure, but I know I don't want to do roofing the rest of my life. So I was smart enough to know that. And so I moved here with started working with my dad, and so the battery industry is it's all I've ever known. So my dad had a small battery company. He ended up shutting down and moving to the beach. I continued to stay in the business and worked my way from different technician positions to sales to, again, branch management. And then in February of 2014, I decided that I wanted to start my own company.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge in the business, and how did you overcome that?
I think everyone's going to agree with this answer. It's finding the right people and and getting them in the right place. Again, my background is in business. I was not generally on the hiring end of businesses, so having to learn how to hire people correctly, as opposed to being able to hire smart, as opposed to hiring on emotion. Hey, I've got to have that new service tech in that service van. I've got to get them out there. And I would just hire, from the heart, as opposed to just really understanding how to vet that employee or potential employee. And that's one of the things that getting together with ActionCOACH has really helped me. We say, what's been your biggest challenge and how you overcome it? I don't know you overcome that. I think it's always a challenge when you're trying to hire people and find the ones that share your vision, your values, and continue to help grow the business the way you want it to grow. But I will say that Ross Cox being my action coach has really helped me understand. Sometimes you just have to take a step back, and he's been able to provide the resources that has allowed me to find better qualified people. And you may find someone that may not be great for this job, but when you go through a DISC assessment, you may find out that person may work better somewhere else. But it definitely has helped me hire smarter.
How has that changed you as a leader?
I was used to working somewhere between 60 and 70 hours a week. So now, I've dropped that down dramatically. I've been able to walk away from work, go on vacations, and really enjoy myself, as opposed to feeling like I have to call in every day, or I have to get on my computer every morning and every afternoon. So I have great people in the right places that are taking on the responsibilities, and I don't feel like I have to be there every step of the way anymore. So it's allowed me to, as my business coach would say, work when I want to work, not because I have to work.
Let's look at business coaching for a minute. Why did you get one? What has it meant to you and done for your business?
I'd gone to a lunch and learn, and I forget it was a bank that had put it on. There was an action coach there, and they had given him an opportunity to present. And I had thought about it because I'd gotten to the point in my business where I'd grown it to a certain point, but then we just began to plateau. And I really felt like I was just spinning my wheel, not going anywhere, not really growing anymore. I had received a phone call an email about filling out this form for a business coach. I filled it out. Within a matter of minutes, Ross had reached out to me, and we had a very candid conversation about the process. And he pretty much made it very clear, fill out this survey, and we'll get the ball rolling. And we explained all the benefits that Action Coach could provide my company. And so from the time I did that, I just felt more at ease about things. He's come in and really helped me. And I had also hired consultants in the past, and I've spent a lot of money with consulting firms. And what I learned from consulting firms is they're going to come in and do the job for you, but they don't teach you how to do it. So having an action coach, having Ross on my side, he doesn't do anything for me. He actually does coach me and helps me learn these different things so that I can be the businessman that I want to be.
And that's a wrap for today's epic conversation here on Epic Entrepreneurs. Huge thanks to our amazing guest for pouring their heart into sharing their journey. Let's make sure you keep dreaming, take massive action, and stay epic.